No matter how you look at it, there are fewer people willing to go into the office than ever before, and the pandemic cemented a new world of remote work for millions of people around the globe. In this video, we're going to be looking into an article published by the LA Times claiming that remote workers may be the first to get let go in what some people are forecasting to be widespread upcoming layoffs, spurred on by an uncertain economy and rising interest rates. To understand where this is coming from, we first have to look at a chain of potential misunderstandings and decisions based on limited data, whether or not intentional. Working from home yields less productivity than at the office. Skill distribution between remote workers and non-remote workers are equal. People working at the office are the real team players. So obviously we're going to debunk all of them. Productivity when working remotely depends on a variety of factors, but the ones that stick out are how many distractions there are versus at the office, and how easy it is for the remote worker to communicate and collaborate with other people. In a world where most people are familiar with email and chat, and most companies are providing these services regardless of worker remoteness, we are left talking about an ever decreasing portion of the workforce that is uncomfortable or at least not used to communicating in ways other than in person. In the end, employees can, should, and deserve to be evaluated objectively without regard to where they are doing their jobs. Are people working from home more or less skilled than those working at the office? There is no way for me to objectively claim either side to be true, but I can offer this claim instead. Someone who is able to communicate with their team effectively while working remotely will have more potential productivity by virtue of being more in control over their working environment. This is especially true for higher paying jobs such as software engineering, where the salaries paid to the employees can find their way into improved working conditions. Less distractions also mean more time to focus on improvement while also reducing unnecessary stress, especially during busier times. Again, this is potential improvement we're talking about here. I'm well aware that most people are simply content to take in the benefits of not having to commute and be away from home all day long, which of course is fine too. The point is, working remotely reduces productivity barriers. There is this myth that being in the office makes you more of a team player than if you're doing the exact same work from the comfort of your own home. While I buy into the idea that collective suffering can build bonds between people, I also think it's kind of toxic, and even if it's not, we can achieve this togetherness via semi-active conference calls where everybody is at the keys but not necessarily part of the conversation. This way, everybody is at least partially aware of whatever emergency is being resolved and can chip in whenever they have something to move things along. This sort of thing is a direct application from the online gaming world that has proven effective in work environments and allows people to still enjoy most of the benefits of working from home without sacrificing team cohesion. So with this context in mind, given that 80% of managers believe the myths we just talked about according to a Microsoft study, it comes as no surprise that the LA Times frames the problem as follows. As recession winds blow and the prospect of layoffs grows, many remote workers are beginning to worry about a potential downside to the at-home arrangement that took hold during the pandemic and has continued even as the crisis recedes. This is a feeling that anyone who's worked in a toxic work environment will understand very well. The fear of getting fired for reasons beyond your control that have nothing to do with your performance on the job. According to a survey by beautiful.ai, a whopping 60% agree that it is likely that remote employees would be laid off first. Remote workers' fears are therefore not unjustified. The Times then gives more examples of such fears. Good Hire, an employment screening firm in Redwood City, California, found in a survey that 8 in 10 workers felt working from home would make them more vulnerable in a layoff. They also give anecdotes of remote workers actually getting laid off, but the companies doing so seem hush-hush about whether remote workers specifically are being targeted. Carol Raymer, a senior recruiter for DocuSign, said her entire 10-person team that focused on senior level hiring was laid off last month, and everyone had worked at home. And Microsoft, for example, confirmed it laid off almost 1,000 workers, but the company wouldn't comment when asked whether people working remotely were affected more than those who worked in the office. Keep in mind, however, that since so many people are indeed working remotely these days, it was only a matter of when, not if, the entire remote teams got laid off. What I think is important here is for CEOs and other executive decision makers to be more transparent and forward-thinking about creating a remote working environment where people feel like they won't be targeted based on their preference for the comfort of working from home. Many workers have come to value working from home, so much so that 45% say they would take a pay cut to keep working remotely. And about 1 in 3 said they would actually quit or start a remote job search if they were forced to return to the office full time, according to Good Hire's survey. It's now time to talk about the other survey I mentioned earlier by beautiful.ai, because it's not all bad news. The statistic where it mentioned that 60% of managers agree remote workers would be the first to be let go is not the only piece of insight they found. 78% agree that major financial resources are being allocated towards a successful digital workplace. 62% say managing is more difficult in a remote workplace. Just 38% believe that managing is easier with more employees working remotely. 81% say that they are excited about digital work replacing their in-office setup. 80% say they are worried about a recession negatively impacting business. 78% are worried about a recession making hiring challenges worse than they already are. 60% agree that it is likely that remote workers would be laid off first, while another 20% are on the fence on this issue. Only 20% say it's not very likely. 66% say they agree that there is still a strong sense of connection in a digital working environment. While there may be some concern in today's working environment, there is clearly a lot of investment being done to build a better remote-friendly future. Over time, it is inevitable that the tools that we use to work remotely are only going to become better, with companies like Microsoft, Google, and others are pouring endless resources into improving their products to compete with each other. Over time, executives with staunchly old school thinking will become a smaller and smaller demographic as the benefits of a solid online collaborative environment become clearer and overwhelming even to them. Taking employees' wants and needs into consideration not only improves the morale of the team, but can help with job performance and retention. Most managers will agree that the biggest reason a remote or hybrid workplace has been positively impactful for their business is improved employee satisfaction and culture. It's not a surprise that 97% said their digital workplace was positively impactful for the overall business. Of course it is. The ease of being able to put the headphones on and get to getting the job done while you have a load of laundry going on in the background is a profoundly superior work-life balance, in addition to the improved focus and therefore productivity you can achieve when your work from home setup is properly built out. Companies that realize this will, as a result, have happier, more productive employees. That's it for this video. Those of you who have been kind enough to keep watching my content for a while now will have noticed my videos have been getting a little bit longer as of late. It has always been the goal to be able to produce more in-depth content with time to provide more than just superficial takes on whatever topics I'm talking about. Hopefully I'm getting better. Thank you so much for staying along for the ride, and if you're new and made it this far, please consider subscribing to my channel. Either way, don't forget to hit the thumbs up button, and until next time, work from wherever you feel you can get the job done.